panel shows, would you do sort of comedy panel shows or?
Well, I've done Have I Got News for You?
Yeah.
And the whole time I remind myself that they can't write legislation, and so I don't have to be a comedian. So no, I wouldn't do.
Like
I'm not a
10 Cats or that kind of
comedian,
thing,
yeah. And people think I'm funny because the bar in Westminster is really, really, really low. And so people are like, "Oh my gosh, you're so funny," and I'm like, "I'm really not that funny. It is just that."
Well, you are. We've got a clip of you in the House of Commons, isn't it? Wherever it is you work.
The Houses of
Parliament, and then the Commons is
the
within
House
that,
of Commons,
isn't it? Yeah, whatever. But treating it like a stand-up gig. Let's see this clip. Did you prep that?
No, I didn't even intend to speak at all. I went into, it was the immigration bill, was the first debate of the immigration bill, which stated that to be a skilled worker you had to earn £30,000, and actually now Priti Patel and Boris Johnson are saying it has to be £36,000, so it's gone up. I wouldn't pay either of them 36 pence. There was some argy-bargy about whether the Labour Party was or wasn't going to support it. And I was like, what? Coming from Birmingham, I was a bit like, we can't be seen to be supporting this. This is terrible. And so someone had texted me and just said, can you get down to the immigration debate? I think we need to be making the argument that we're against this. We need people to say it so that the Labour Party whips hear that we're going to vote against this. So really, I was like in my office working, and I just ran into the chamber. I had no intention of speaking, so I didn't prep it at all.
It's effective though, because we've got a still of your fellow MPs pre this, and they're all pretty chill, as you can see. And then after, as you're doing the sort of gags, essentially, there's the next still. They're so engaged, so like it works. Comedy does seem to be effective in those environments.
I think that the use of comedy is the single greatest tool to connect with people in public meetings, in any big forum, because when you're laughing with somebody, it makes people feel like they're part of something and you're connected to them. And I suppose the observation element of, genuinely, I really thought I was posh before I went to Parliament because, I was shopping Waitrose. And genuinely, I had no idea that those sorts of people existed, that people who were that posh existed. And lots of people have had that experience, and so they can laugh at their own experiences, and you have then a shared thing. So yeah, it's really, really important to be able to make people laugh in order to put them at ease. And I do it with my constituents who are in terrible situations. Actually swearing, I think, is really important way to communicate with people, to make them trust you, genuinely, because everybody swears.
Yeah.
And if I sit with a constituent whose landlord is trying to evict them, it doesn't matter how prim they might be. I'll say, I'm sorry, I'm going to say this man sounds like a total wanker. And they feel like, oh yeah, he is, and you're a bit like me.
Yeah.
And if you make people laugh, then you're connected to them. So it's important to make people laugh.
Thanks, I try my best.
Oh, you do a good job, Joe.
The point you were making on, both of those videos, that video, and then there's another time in the House of Commons when it was on International Women's Day in 2016, and you read out the list of women murdered by men in 2015. Both of those went massively viral and boosted you a lot. But they're terrifying things to bring up, I would feel. Where do you get the confidence from to sort of do those speeches, particularly when you haven't prepped the first one that we watched earlier?
The bar is incredibly low, again, in the House of Commons for people who are actually good at public speaking. So the reality is I am good at public speaking, and I know I am good at it. I didn't know that when I arrived there. I had no idea. But I know what will reach people because I know people. I wanted to be a politician because I love people and I love the bizarre things they do, even when I think that they're wrong. I am obsessed with sort of humankind. And so you get the confidence by of talking about really difficult things sometimes, really hard things, without any preparation, because it's real. And the trouble is, lots of the speeches that you'll see in the House of Commons, they will have been written by somebody else in the office who's got facts and figures about fisheries or transport or whatever. But I tend not to stand up and speak unless I am speaking about something I actually think and I actually feel. And I worked for years at Women's Aid, so I know that without question that I know what I am talking about when I talk about domestic abuse and the femicide, and I do it every year, talk about the femicide census. And you don't need to prepare when you've spent your whole life preparing because you spent your life working with homeless people or working with victims of domestic abuse. You know that what you're saying is right. Well, I'd be terrified if somebody said to me, you've now got to give a 20-minute lecture on, I don't know, astrophysics. Like there was a time, what's his name? Old Canadian president. Oh God, I can't think of his name. The handsome one. That's him.
The handsome one, I know that one.
Yeah, that's him.
The one and only.
And somebody asked him a physics question, he was like, well, actually, and then like knew the answer. I couldn't do that. I'd be like, I don't know what that is. But also I think that there's a disarming thing that you can do is when you're speaking honestly and from the heart, and that is to answer the question genuinely, honestly, and just say, I don't know if you don't know the answer. And don't be afraid. Yeah. Don't be afraid of not knowing the answer. So if somebody intervenes on me during a speech and says, well, actually, what about this, that, and the other? I go, yeah, you might be right. It's not been my experience. Yeah. And that's okay. It's okay to have flaws.
Having that sort of, as you describe it, like kind of normal approach to people. So we're both from Birmingham, but I don't sound like it.
I don't know how you've avoided it.
Well, I went to grammar school.
So did I.
Yeah, which one?
The better one than the one you went to.
We'll see about that. But I honestly don't think if I had a thick Brummie accent that I would have necessarily got as far as I did in TV particularly. Do you think it's helped or hindered you having your accent?
When I was a kid, my dad, who actually taught Joe's dad at school, my dad used to really get on to me about my accent, even though he's got a broad Birmingham accent.
What, to get rid of it?
To get rid of it.
Oh, wow.
So, because we say the oi sound wrong, so we say oi instead of I. So you say spice, it sounds like you're saying space. And my dad used to pick me up on it every day, and it made me hate him a little bit when I was a kid. But he used to say to me, you'll never get ahead if you have a Birmingham accent because people deride it. It's not right, but it is the way it is. But in reality, it has been the greatest asset to me to have a regional accent. In my political career, it is definitely...
Do you think the country would accept a Brummie Prime Minister there?
I mean, look at what we've got at the moment.
Yeah. I'm all right with going to war.
Yeah. Yes, I think that they absolutely would accept a Brummie Prime Minister. And in fact, people always say to me, I don't always agree with you, but I like that you say what you think. And one of the reasons they think that I say what I think is because they trust me because I have a regional accent. It is a really weird thing. And the Labour Party certainly, when I was first a candidate, put me on a pedestal because I was a woman with a regional accent. And it was in the trying to distance everybody from being special advisors in Westminster and everything and getting the real people. So yeah, it's been like a massive boon to me. But also there is a huge amount of class that people put onto it. Yeah. Like I say, I genuinely thought I was posh. I went to a grammar school and people will automatically assume that you're common because you have a regional accent. And I mean, it turns out I was quite common, but I just didn't know. But yeah, no, I think it's been a massive asset. But you think it would hold you back? Is that why you don't have one? Because your family, they sound more Brummie than you.
Mum's like RP and my dad's a bit Brummie, but none of the people I went to school with are Brummie. They've all got sort of speak like I do, really. But I also watched a lot of Quentin Crisp when I was younger, so I think I've just sort of absorbed that. I think that's how I've ended up with this ridiculous personality. Yeah.
If only they could have got the people on Peaky Blinders to have Birmingham accents.
Oh, God. I can't watch it. It's horrible.
I think I've got used to it now. But at first I was a bit like, ooh. And he's my predecessor.
Who?
Tommy Shelby is the MP for Birmingham Yardley.
Is it? Oh, right.
In the TV programme, sorry.
Are there any other
Not seen the
similarities?
last season. But he becomes the MP for the area that I represent.
You slashed anyone up?
Yeah, I got there by a similar means. I've killed a few people.
I've not watched the show, so I'm guessing they slash people up. Isn't that what they do?
Doing weird jobs for Churchill, it seems to be, hits for Churchill. I don't think it's historically accurate, is all I'm going to say.